Hello guys, Dieter again. Welcome. Another day, another streaming interview. I visit this brewery and this lovely person already last summer with Paul from Poland. A very interesting brewer in the Pearl of West Flanders, quite specialized in sour beers. Without further ado, Glenn Castellan from Alvinne, how are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you. Very busy, of course. It's a bit of a strange time these days. Not a lot of orders, but yet a lot of work to do because I have to do it on my own for the moment. But yeah, hanging in there, and we're doing the best we can. And we've got a lot of response on home deliveries and things like that. So it's not completely dead yet. So yeah.
Yeah. To give a short introduction, Brewery Alvinne, where do you stand for? I introduced you as a brewery that makes sours beers. How do you react a bit on that?
Yeah, I think that's right. I think we are most known for our sours, although we do make some more traditional Belgian style beers like a saison or a Rye triple. But let's say 60-70% of what we do is sours. I think what makes us different from any other sour brewery or most other sour breweries these days is that we use our own houses that we actually captivated from nature itself, Morpheus yeast. So you will not find kettle souring in here. It's all mixed fermentation.
Okay, cool. In terms of ingredients, are there do's and don'ts you have?
Well, it depends on which beers, of course. Let's say the dons in general, we don't do fast beer, so we will never do syrups. We will not do fruit purees. We will sure never add concentrates of one or the other, so you will not find pastry sours or whatever here. So we are more into slow beer. We like barrel aging. All the fruit projects are either fresh fruits or frozen fruits, or sometimes fresh fruit that we freeze ourselves, like with quince when they get delivered. A lot of the fruits is actually foraged by ourselves or by friends or delivered by
Okay.
friends. Some of the fruits, of course, for the bigger projects we buy, like rhubarb, cherries, raspberries.
Yeah, all right. Location-wise, you're in West Flanders, the pearl where good beer is brewed in Belgium. I remember when I came to your brewery unannounced, like knocking at your door. The location there, it's quite big for a brewery and also a cozy tap room you have. How did that came together? Was it I want to start a brewery, so I look for a farm to rent, or?
Nah, not really. When we started the brewery, we actually started in some sort of a wooden chalet in our back yard in our garden, which was only like 30 square meters or something. So it was really small. And then 2007 we moved to Heulen. Um, which was a bigger location, but still we couldn't brew more than 500 liter. And then in 2011, decided to yeah to grow massively to make sure that we could brew a lot more beer. So we bought a new brew house. And we went looking for a building which suited our purpose. We actually bought the building, so we're not renting it. We
Okay.
bought the building. Yeah. So this way we're sure that we're okay for well, as long as we want. Um, and yeah, we found this this little gem in the middle of nowhere along the canal. It was a casco
Yes.
building, so ideal to do whatever we wanted with it. So indeed, we have a nice and cozy tap room, which open that often, but hey, we might change that in the future. Like I said, times are changing. Beer festivals get cancelled, so it means that I'm going to be in Belgium more often, and I will have more time to actually open the brewery or the tap room on Fridays, maybe on Saturdays for events or whatever. We'll have to look into that once we are actually allowed to go out again.
Yeah, indeed. Thank God for that. um, so your beers also they have a quite Belgian touch, if I'm correctly. Um, what is the feedback you get from that? How did that took off? You first sold your beers locally, I assume, and then see what feedback come before all the applications on Tapped, etc. were on the market.
Yeah, actually, when we started, we kind of started like most people, contract brewing first, and then when we became officially a brewery, our first beers were quite boring. I would call it today. It was a blonde, a blonde triple dark ale. But eventually, or quite quickly, we started to look for other styles, imperial stouts, but then a Belgian twist to it, some strong hop beers. And in 2009, when Mark joined the brewery, he not only brought some money with him, but he also brought his Morpheus yeast. And that's when we started experimenting with sour beers as well. So it was sort of a gradual process from very classic beginning to what we are today. People would call it innovative. I'm not really sure if I would call it like that. I call it actually very traditional, but with a modern twist to it. I mean, we do food aging, we do barrel aging, we do fruit maceration, all things that have been done in the past by others long before us. So it's not that innovative, I think. But the use of some ingredients, some fruits, okay, that's the Alvinne twist. I don't think many brewers used slow berries before we did. Used quince in beer before we did. So we try to find things that not that many other brewers have done before. Of course,
In,
today everyone is experimenting with everything, especially with the fruit purees. So it's getting hard on the fruit part, but
Yeah, in terms of product, what do you sell in Belgium locally, and what goes outside Belgium? You have a number on that?
it's a bit hard to say, of course, because some of our Belgian customers actually also do export for us. All our export for Russia goes actually through a Belgium customer first, through Etre Gourmet, and there are some others. So it's to give you a precise number, that's a bit hard. But I guess 60, somewhere in between 60 and 70% export, and then 40-30% Belgium.
Oh, so you actually
Belgium is
export more than.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Belgium is a bit of a difficult market for sours. Well, it's a difficult market for pretty much anything, because most
Yeah.
Belgian brewers are quite loyal to their brands and are hard to persuade to do something else. The Dutch market is totally different. Dutch people are very adventurous and to explore new things. So it's much easier for us to sell our beer in the Netherlands than in Belgium. Then again, you need some brand loyalty as well, of course, because you can't keep making new beers every week. Although some brewers seems to be able to do that, but well.
Yeah. How do you look to consistency? If you need to try to make the same beer over and over, is that something hard?
Well, it depends a little bit. Let's say on the non-sours, it's a bit easier because it's just basically following your recipe, and as long as you don't change much on your methods and on your ingredients, it's going to be quite stable. With the sours, it's more it's different because we need to propagate our yeast, and depending on the parameters, and there's a lot of them, fermentation temperature, well, we're going to have more or less lactic bacteria or more or less beer yeast in the mixed fermentation. So we need to try and find a good balance there. It's very easily out of balance, and that makes it harder for us. That's why we will never brew two sours 2 days in a row, but we need a few days in brewing one sour and then in between using the yeast again for another sour. So it's a very, very tight schedule on feeding the yeast. It's basically like babies.
Okay. And tell me, what beers did you eliminate in your gamma from when you were started commercially until now? Which darlings did you have to kill?
A lot of them were killed on the way. I don't know. It's very hard to say. I think we've maybe have made 200 beers or more probably, because what we do, of course, is with one base beer we can make a lot of different beers. Let's say if we use the fee and we put different fruits on it, or we barrel age it in different barrels, it's one base beer can easily end up in 10 different beers in the end. But some of the classics that were eliminated on the way were Gaspar, Melchior, and Balthazar, the three kings beers. Because, okay, with Melchior, which we occasionally brew, but not that often, more for projects for others, we had Cuvée d'Herpigny and Land of Mortagne that were in the same range. Balthazar was a dark spice beer. Not really into spices myself, so it wasn't my personal favorite, so that was easy to liquidate. The Gaspar was one of my personal favorites. Very, strongly hopped, very bitter triple, I would call it. Well, 9 ABV, 9.5 ABV triple. But then again, we had our Moonrise triples. So it's making choices, and if you have too many beers in the same style, it's better to eliminate and twist some beers and make some new beers, because today's market, whether you like it or not as a brewer, is also about new things. And okay, we've got a core range now of some sours and some non-sours. And if we do collaborations, we can add some beers to that range, but most collaborations will end up in being one-off projects. Yeah.
Yeah, one of a time projects.
Yeah.
Can you name some brewers where you already did some collabs with?
Oh, yeah, we did a lot of collabs in the past. Some Spanish breweries with Lager. Names. With a Chinese brewery, actually, Bubble Lab. I think we were the first lowland brewery to do to do a collaboration with a Chinese craft brewer. Who else? There was some with Guineu, with Case. Not every collab was here, of course. What we do with collabs is we try to do it in both directions. But with some brewers, we were only for now successful in doing it either with us or with them. So there are still some collabs on the program. But I don't want to do too many of them as well. I want to make a bit of wise choices, because we get invited to do a lot of collabs. But it's also a little bit of stress, of course. You need to keep thinking of crazy things to do. Like we did a collab with Nukne, a raw beer where we actually put whole chunks of a juniper tree into the mash water and crazy things. But you can't keep up with crazy ideas, of course, and the risk is too high as well. I mean, we can afford to lose a brew if that happens, if shit happens. We actually never lost a brew, luckily. If we lose barrels that's gone off, And yeah, well, there's only one thing you can do. It's pour it down the drain, unfortunately.
Yeah, yeah, indeed. Um, Size-wise, how many hectoliters do you brew, and what is your staffing in the brewery?
We do about somewhere in between thousands and 1,200 hectoliters. It depends a little bit. We've got quite a lot of stock, of course. We've got for 25 hectoliter fooders. We've got a 44 hectoliter fooders, and I don't know, about 80 to 100 barrels at any given time. So it's quite a lot of stock that we have. We need to find a bit of a balance in there. I used to have more barrels, but yeah, it's just too expensive to have a huge amount of beer in stock that you can't sell. Average between brewing at our place and actually getting the beer sold is 5 to 6 months, which is a
Yeah,
very long time.
yeah, that's laying money, as they say.
Yeah, indeed. So we need to be business wise. We need to be a bit careful, of course. At this point, it's actually a good thing because okay, I'm not brewing anymore during due to the Corona crisis. There's no use to build up more stock of the beers that we still have enough in stock. But it is a good time now to. Yeah, to package some of the barrel aged beers. I did on Monday a huge round of barrel tasting. So I've got it was a heavy one. I stayed at the brewery to sleep, so
Okay.
I think you can make a picture about. Well, but I through them all. Um, so yeah, we do have some nice things we can do now, and we'll do it in very small amounts, like a bottle 400, 500 liter at a time, because that's what I can manage on my own. So yeah, what you basically have to do as a brewery is adjust to the situation and make the best of it. It's the only thing you can do.
So that means, of course, if the demand drops like now during the
hmm
pandemic, you produce less. What else do you think the impact will be on small, medium craft brewers like yourself on within a half a year? What will be the impact?
It's very hard to predict, of course, but to be honest, I'm not really very positive. It could be a real disaster for a lot of people in this business because we are all connected to each other, of course. Ours, we can't sell our beer. Okay, we have private customers, but still, you need the larger. You need distributors. You need shops. You need bars. You need restaurants. You need them all. Um, so I think it's going to be hard for a lot of smaller breweries, and if a lot of smaller breweries are having a hard time, it's going to be hard for a few of our suppliers as well, who are depending, of course, on the small brewers to buy their ingredients at their place. So it's a chain of blocks, and if one falls, it could lead up to a lot of others that will fall. But let's hope this will not happen. Let's hope everyone will be able to get through this period. Hopefully, thanks to the support we are getting from the government. But I think it's will all depend on timing. I think everyone can survive a month or 2 months, but if the whole Horeca will be down for I don't know, maybe 4 months all summer or something, then yeah, then I think a lot of businesses will be in huge problems.
Yeah. Do you think that there also will be a demand for, let's say, cheaper beers, like with less expensive ingredients that some craft beers always have? Do you think there will be a more down to earth expectation of beer price and ingredients? Let's say the Weiss beers, the lagers, will that become on a rise? Or
Hard to say. I don't think in Belgium, to be honest. I think in Belgium people might choose cheaper beers from bigger breweries. That's a possibility because in the end, a lot of people are affected by this. People who are on economically unemployment. Well, in the end, they earn less money. Less money to spend on beer or just to go out or whatever. So it's very hard to say how this will evolve and how people will buy. I think they will buy locally. I think the delivery service that we've set up now, um, I think it might be something that we'll need to continue to do even after the Corona crisis. I also think it's something we should continue to do at least for an extra couple of months. Um, if only as a thank you to all those people who are very supportive right now. Because people, yeah, they easily buy for 100, 150 euros in beer, which made it's interesting for me to go out and deliver all over Flanders. So, but export wise, yeah, okay, there's could be that some lagers or some Hefeweizen or whatever get more popular. Although everyone's been saying that for over a year now, that this would be the new hyped style. But I don't see that much happening in that direction. It's not that easy to brew a good Pilsner, by the way. So
Yeah,
I
true,
think a
true.
lot of people underestimate that. It's yeah, it's a bit easier to make very juicy hoppy beers or sours or because yeah, whether it's intentional or accidental, if there are off flavors,
You
they're
can mask
easily
them.
more easily masked by hops or fruits. That's just a fact. Um, Making a pilsner is like brewing basically naked. So any mistake you will taste, and technically it's actually it's not that easy. We wouldn't be able to do it here in the brewery because we can't chill on our tanks or not hard enough. So it would be impossible for us to actually make a lager. So
Yeah.
but yeah, for foreign countries, it's already so, especially in the southern part of Europe, that some cheaper beers are preferred. So, but I think this has basically to do with how much money people make a month.
Yeah.
There's a huge difference between Sweden and Norway and Portugal and Spain. That's also a fact within Europe, of course.
Yeah, they also say that when you want to export your beer more towards, let's say, Scandinavian countries, money-wise, it's not really a problem. When you want to do it more to southern countries or what we call Balkan Oostblok,
Mm,
money-wise, yeah, the fit isn't
yeah,
there, so it's harder to export for a good price towards there. Is
yeah,
that
it
something
is.
you also notice, or?
Yeah, it's absolutely is like that. Yeah. Yeah, it's of course our volumes are smaller and are for a very specific target group of yeah, people who like beer, sours, beer geeks. Um, so in this way, we do sell like we do sell quite well in Russia.
Okay.
But yeah, price, yeah, same
And
for China. We sell a lot of beer actually to China. We used to sell a lot of beer to China before Corona messed this party up. Um, but I think it's a general thing that's okay. Beer prices. You need to. I think you need to have a fair price for your beer. I don't think we are expensive. We are not the most cheap beer, and we have some really expensive beers as well. But these are like bottle membership beers for a very specific, yeah, number of people, a very specific target public. So
tell me a bit, you mentioned Russia and China already multiple times. How did that came together? For me, it's very hard to get a foot in that market. Did that organically grow, or one day somebody showed up and said, "I want to export your beer"?
Yeah, basically. Well, with China, it's to a Belgian friend who is married to a Chinese girl. So he's our in-between connection with China, which makes things so much easier
Yeah,
logistic-wise and the communication. Although communication is actually really, really good with China. Russia was through Eter Gourmet, which is a distributor, and he was already distributing some goods to Russia. So yeah, it makes sense to go through that way. Usually, we don't do huge efforts to find export markets. Usually, they find us on festivals, accidental visitors here, and you start talking, and it's like, okay, Poland. Well, we don't have anyone in Poland. Okay, and then one thing sometimes leads to another. So it's not really a planned thing. It
yeah,
goes very natural in a way, which is good because it's for me it's a better base for a good partnership than a bit of where you really have to ask, oh, would you please sell my beer in this country or this country? So I'd rather have it the other way around. If they come and ask, it means that they heard of us, that they know what to expect from us. It's a bit easier than having to explain everything. Although some don't get it, I get mails from India or China as well that are saying, well, I want to do business with you. We're talking about one container a month. I'm like, look us up, man. We can't do a container a month. We do 1,000 hectoliters a year. So really unreal numbers that you just can't do. And it stops the minute you give a price. Then it also stops. They're just sending the same mails to, let's say, InBev and to Alvinne at the same time. So without checking anything out. So for me, that's already a bad way to start a business relationship if they clearly have no idea what we are doing and how big or rather how small we are.
yeah. Festival-wise, how is your normal festival year? You do a lot of festivals. You do a lot of festivals outside Belgium or Europe. How is the rock life as a brewer?
Hard from time to time, but of course it's fun. Yeah, we do a lot of festivals. It's the best way to well, first of all, to thank your distributors or to find a new distributor, because in some countries, yeah, we got a distributor. Festival, because your beers have to go through to that festival, of course, and usually the festival organizer works with the distributor, and then okay, new business relationship is in the making. But yeah, it's fun, but it's tiring as well, because well, in the end, you work all week. I have a job as a teacher as well, next to my job as running the brewery, and then in the weekends off to Spain or Sweden or wherever. But it's one of the good things of this life. You meet a lot of people. It's fun to talk to colleagues who are doing the same thing you do. Sometimes the pre-parties are like, how would I call it? Like going to the shrink. Okay, we complain a little bit to each other, but we at least we understand each other. It's easier for me to say business stuff to a colleague brewer than, let's say, to my wife. But yeah, it's a fun life. We can't deny that. It's really a fun life. But well, all festivals are cancelled now. So yeah, it's bad for business as well, of course, because each festival represents some sales. Or the biggest festival for us is the Borest Beer Festival in the Netherlands,
Okay.
organized by the Molen. For us, that's a festival where we sell 45 to 50 key cakes. So it's a huge number
Oh,
of cakes. Yeah, and we finish, let's say, 35 kegs, and then some unfinished kegs. So do 40 kegs in that weekend. Okay, we have 16 taps, so but still, it's a huge amount of beer to pour in small glasses. So we are gonna miss that as well. It's things that we already can calculate on sales that we will be missing. Um, so yeah, it's not only not seeing our friends and colleagues. It's there is a business side to it as well. So that's a bit pity, but yeah, let's hope next year will be better.
Yeah, indeed.
Not though.
Um,
So
the local, now catching up with the local deliveries, is that something you already mentioned? Keep doing for a couple of months, like all the brewers are doing it, the beer bars are doing it. Does that generate enough response, or is that like, let's say, a drop on a hot plate?
for now, it generates enough response. If it's going to be a drop on a hot plate, time will tell. Um, as long as people has to stay in, I think people will keep on buying. Of course, when people, yeah, but, when people buy our type of beer, I know they're not going to finish all that beer in 1 week. I know a lot of the beer is for storing in their cellar, so I'm not going to sell the same beers week after week, which is why I've got some smaller projects that I want to launch during this period. I've got a catchy name for it. I would call these small experiments. It's all going to be like 400, 500 liter experiments or something like that. It's going to be fast beer in a way, but I'm thinking like dry hopping sours, things like that. And the beers will be sold under the name Vaccin, which will stand for various ales, creative, challenging, innovative, and new.
Ah, okay, cool, cool. Yeah,
So we have got already a few ideas, and I think the first one will be launched maybe in 2 weeks or 3 weeks. So hopefully in somewhere in May.
yeah. And location-wise, you already mentioned doing something more with the tap room. What is now your tap room is very cozy in the brewery to sit, but is it? What is the visit rate of it? Do you sometimes have a buzz of Chinese tourists there, or or is it still there?
No, we do have visitors in the brewery, of course. It's yeah, that's why we have this tap room. We don't do it a lot again because yeah, it's very hard if we have a group. It means that one of us, yeah, absolutely need to be here, of course, obviously. Which means during festival season that it's sometimes hard, yeah, to put together our agenda because we never know up front when there will be festivals, if you will get an invitation or not. So it's very hard to plan. But especially if it's people who know about beer, then we welcome visitors very much. We don't do like surprise journeys or the local football team who is on a team building trip. That we don't do. I that really enjoy beer and can get our philosophy about the oak aging and things like that. So and then we actually try beer from tanks, from foeders, sometimes even from barrels. I make it a really nice experience for people who come here. And the bar used to be open every Friday, but again, because I couldn't be here, I needed to put some of my stuff here on Friday, which is a cost. So if 30 people come, it's okay. But if only 5 people come, yeah, you're not making any money, and it's costing you a lot. So it's about making choices with the time we have.
Next question that I would love to ask: is there a definition of craft beer, and if yes, what is it?
It's a very hard one. Craft beer is yeah, for me it's basically a bit of an American term. Um, for a lot of people, it's about what they do with ingredients. For me, it's not. For me, it's more size of the brewery and of course what well, ingredients one part, but some people would call pastry stouts with concentrates of hazelnut and whatever craft beer. In my opinion, craft beer is more an installation that isn't completely computer driven, where you do some efforts to get your ingredients, like foraging some ingredients, things like that. I see it more, which in Flemish we would call ambachtelijk. This is more my definition of craft beer. For me, beer firms or contract brewers, it's a bit hard to call it craft because they're actually not. Most of them are not doing anything except ordering. So, but it's a catchy term and it sells, and it built a large community. We have to agree on that. There's a huge community now, beer geek scene. So we have to embrace that in a bit, in a way. Although there are some disadvantages to it, like I said. The cry for new beers all the time. It's like ticking.
Hype train.
They had one beer and they don't want. I mean, they're not interested in having a second beer, or they're sharing beers. It's all good, but it's good for me. As long as everyone understands that there's going to be an end to it. You can't keep on producing new beers, and especially with sours. I mean, unless you start doing things what Mikkeller did years ago with a single hop series or so, and then make 30 different single hop beers. Okay, well, then it's easy to make a whole bunch of new beers. But then it's more about the marketing and just doing different things and actually having a good idea and be creative. But hey, that's my opinion. So
To hook into that a bit, marketing. How do you do that of your beers? Logo wise, graphic design and stuff. Is that you have your go to contact, you have a vision and you let it design? Or how did you make, let's say, the
um,
names for your beer?
names of the beer is usually just sometimes there's a story behind it. Sometimes it's just imagination. I mean, the beer that I Cuvée Sophie on Moscatel barrels. I could have called it Cuvée Sophie Moscatel, which makes it logically, but I bottled it as Never Surrender because in these days, it's something that's that is how would I say trendy. It's also something my wife always says: never surrender, never surrender. So she was actually happy for one. I made a beer with a connection to her, so scored some points there. But marketing wise, a year ago we spent some money on marketing. We had the logo redesigned, which was our idea, but then you work with a design company to fine tune it. We made new labels, so there was more, so people would recognize our beers in the shop, and not being all different type of labels that you think, okay, all Alvinne, and you're thinking there's 10 different breweries there. So there's
Yeah.
a little bit more company style in labels and marketing. But in the end, I think if it goes about marketing, I think we are more marketing of the people. I'd like to say and hope that people prefer our marketing in a way that we are very close to the consumer. We are very easy to contact. I love to meet the people who drink my beer. Give them a big man hug or woman hug, or whatever. Now, beer is fun, and yeah,
Yeah, perfect.
just
Very nice last words, Glenn Castellan. Thank you very much
thanks, man.
for having you.
It's a pleasure, man.
All right. After the crisis, we gotta catch a beer soon when we do another trip to West Flanders.
That's a good plan. That's a good plan.
All right. All the best. See you soon.
See you, man. Bye bye.